A new bull, a new bear, new bubble, and new meltdown. You can feel it in the air. Americans want a new bull and a new bubble to spice up the economy, and the government is cooperating. As usual, we'll pay for it later. And of course, September is historically the worst month for the stock market. Something's in the air. You can feel it. A new bull. Hype, maybe, but also a roaring new bull, and eventually, of course, another meltdown. Tempers are flaring over how best to reform U.S. healthcare, but a much deeper conflict over the role of government in American society is what is really fueling the debate. Americans want another bull, another bubble, even another meltdown. And guess what? It's already here. The next big market economic business cycle has arrived ahead of schedule. This is what makes us America. We love challenges, risk takers, and winners. The nobody who suddenly becomes a big somebody is the biggest of all TV metaphors for who we are. A new bubble cycle is already in motion. You can feel the energy building, the kind that fueled the meltdowns of 1998, 2000, and 2007. And this time, it's even bigger than all that. It's different from all the rest. There's something much more going on here. We never resolved the problems fueling the dot-com insanity. We made matters worse feeding the subprime credit derivatives disaster with more cheap money, Reaganomics ideology, and 2 very costly wars. Lessons were never learned and nothing was resolved. Today matters continue deteriorating rapidly. The Wall Street conspiracy, whatever have you call it, has dumped $23.7 trillion in new bailout debt on taxpayers, which is clearly unsustainable. The bill will come due, but for now we're getting their wish. A new bubble is accelerating, thanks to America's too greedy to fail, or too big to fail, Wall Street banks. The bull, a bubble, and another meltdown are virtually certain, and accelerating faster than earlier cycles. Here are some visionaries who aren't working for Wall Street's hype machine. Michael Lewis, a former Wall Street trader and the author of Panic, the Story of Modern Financial Insanity, recently told Newsweek, "There's a false sense that it's over, that the crisis is past. The bailouts have merely postponed the inevitable. We are in for another day of reckoning down the road. Their next one will be bigger, badder, a real demolition derby." Several months ago, in a Vanity Fair article, Wall Street lays another egg. A Harvard financial historian said, "Markets are mirrors of the human psyche. Like individuals, they can become depressed, even suffer complete breakdowns." The 5 stages of a bubble popping. In the 400-year history of stock markets, there has been a long succession of financial bubbles. Time and again, asset prices have soared to unsustainable heights, only to crash downward again. It's an all too familiar cycle. In fact, so familiar is this pattern. But it is possible to distill it into 5 stages. Displacement. Some change in economic circumstances creates new and profitable opportunities. Last year's historic bailout election, new ideology. Euphoria or overtrading, overconfidence. A feedback process or feedback loop sets in whereby expectation of rising profits leads to rapid growth in asset prices. Goldman is proof. Mania and bubble, or panic and bubble. Prospects of easy capital gains attract first-time investors and swindlers. or speculators eager to take their money. Distress. Insiders discern that profits cannot possibly justify the now exorbitant price of the assets and begin to take profits. Revulsion or discredit. Asset prices fall. The outsiders stampede for the exits, causing the bubble to burst. Americans are not going to put up with the Wall Street conspiracy, ripping off investors and taxpayers much longer. Wall Street got rich, sticking us with mountains and mountains of debt for generations to come. Yes, generations to come. What about the kids? Lobbyists' power becomes lethal to our values. Special interests running and destroying American democracy will self-destruct. Derivatives. Cap and trade will crash worse than subprime. The Goldman conspiracy is spending millions and millions of dollars lobbying for trillion-dollar derivatives. Too greedy to fail, or too big to fail, big banks will trigger harsh backlash. Banks pay huge bonuses, yet modify only 9% of at least 4 million stressed home loans. America's wealth gap will trigger grassroots rebellion. Wall Street's greed is so pervasive, gluttonous, and obvious. Yes, pure greed. The rest will rebel. A wave of creative destruction will revive commercial banking. Investment bankers could kill commercial banking. Secrecy protecting Wall Street's unethical behavior must end. Wall Street's control over Washington's lawmakers must come to an end. The Fed's shadow banking will collapse under excess debt. Central bank balance sheets could or will be overdrawn, feeding the new bubble with cheap money. A black swan of huge, unintended consequences. The next bubble could be highly unpredictable, with huge collateral damage on Wall Street. Yes, these are more signs. Without easy credit creation, a true bubble cannot occur. That is why so many bubbles have their origins in the sins of omission and commission of central banks. So again, the next bubble and meltdown is virtually certain, thanks to Washington's $23.7 trillion explosion in new taxpayer debt, burdening the future generations, the kids of today and the kids to come, and their kids, with huge mountains of uncontrollable runaway debt, an unsustainable debt level or burden. Yes, this cannot be sustained. They're putting off the inevitable. That's what the bailouts have done, basically, in so many ways. And they just can't keep printing more money and putting this country into huge amounts of debt, public debt. It's just not going to work. It's putting off tomorrow. They're not making the hard decisions. Lawmakers are not making decisions that they need to make. Anyway, there's something much more going on here. These days are different than any other days that have come before. There'll never be days like this again. Yes, there's much going on. And these are the end times. Signs of the end times. Transition days. The transition must happen. Change must happen. Everything that must change rapidly. And there are many, many signs happening day by day all around the world.